Until recently, anytime we did a square root sign, we had to have stuff like root 100 equals 10, root 25 equals 5. Since we started complex numbers, that's changed. An example would be if I ask you for the square root of minus 100, instead of 10, it's 10i. If I ask you for the square root of minus 25, it's 5i. And then finally, if I ask you for the square root of minus 9, 3i. The minus doesn't affect it, it's just put an I behind it. The presence of a minus means there's an I in the answer. Now, this is the very first thing we covered. I squared is defined as minus 1. I can change root 100. Surds obey, what surds do is they actually obey multiplication rules. So if I gave you, as an example, root 100, I could rewrite root 100 as square root of 4 by the square root of 25 if I wanted to. Because 4 multiplied by 25 is 100. It only obeys multiplication now. It doesn't do that for addition. Okay? So what I can say is that's 2 times 5. The answer is 10. Likewise, if I'm doing the square root of 100, I can rewrite that as root 100 by root minus 1. What is the square root of minus 1 in complex numbers? Just give me a second. I equals the square root of minus 1. It equals I. The only thing I want you to be able to know is this. If I call out this number, I want you to be able to tell me what the answer is. This is all I need you to know, right? If I wrote down root minus 25, what's the answer to that? 5i. If there's a minus there, I is in the answer. Is that right? To my many haters, lads, get this. Now, shh. So, excuse me. Yep, one question. Yeah, go for it. And just to really hit the point home, if I said square root of minus 16, what would be the answer for that? 4i. Square root it, put the I in. Okay? Now, what you're going to do with the likes of question 8 is, you're going to have to solve this equation. It can't be done using the reference number. So, you'll see this, it'll give it away in the exam. It'll say, get your answer as x equals a plus bi. It has to tell you in the exam if it's a complex answer or not. Okay? So it's a solved question, so you're not happy until you have x equals at the end of the question. Now, how do you go about doing this? You use the minus b formula. So you have x squared minus 2x plus 5 equals 0. You then say a value is, guys, a value, b value. What's the minus b value? 2. What's the c value? 5. Now, you're going to write down the minus b formula. Minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, once you've done this, okay, what you have next is you put in minus b for minus b, so you get 2 plus or minus. Now, what have I always advised you guys to do when you get to this stage in the minus b formula? I've always said it since day one. Thank you. Brackets first, and then you do the square root part on its own first every time. So here's what happens. Okay, you're going to get squared. You're going to get minus 4 brackets all over 2 bracket something. Fill in the numbers. What goes here? B squared, which is minus 2 to be squared. What goes here? And then here, 5. And then here, 1. Now, what's going to happen, and by the way, I'm just going to call this in advance, you're about to get a maths error in your calculator. I'll tell you why. Anytime you put the square root of a minus number in your calculator, for example, square root of minus 16, it will tell you math error. It can't do it. Okay? But if I put in root 16, everything's grand. It can handle positive numbers. Mick, it can handle positive numbers, can't handle negative numbers. Everybody alright with that? So, what's going to happen is, if I put this all in my calculator to begin with, so I put minus 2 squared minus 4 bracket 1 bracket 5, What happens here, guys? Mad error. Now, once I realise that, I'm going to go back to the very start. I'm going to delete the square root sign and just press equal. It's actually square root of minus 16. What you're going to have here, guys, is what is the square root of minus 16? 2 plus or minus 4i all over 2. So you have two answers. You have 2 plus 4i over 2, or you have 2 minus 4i over 2. Now, what I tried to explain to people earlier is that, see the fraction on the bottom? It acts on both numbers on the top. So what's 2 divided by 2? 4i divided by 2. 2i. The other one? 1. And what will always happen here, guys, is that the numbers will always occur in conjugate pairs. One of them will be 1 plus 2i. The other one will be 1 minus 2i. They always occur in conjugates, okay? Now, that's how you do the minus b version. The only other type of question that we're going to worry about today is the when you have something like this here. Okay, like question 11. Question 11, guys, is x squared plus 25 equals 0. Okay, so here's how you can do this one. Bring the 25 to the other side. And what do we get now? X squared equals minus 25. What you do when there's a square on one side and you want to turn that square into x? Squared sign. Paddy, question? Before I complete this one off here, guys, I want you to compare to one that you would have done in the past. What you would have done in the past, instead of x squared plus 25, what some of you might have done in the past was x squared minus 25. Now, a question like this, you can do it two ways. You can do x squared minus 5 squared equals 0. You can then do it as x plus 5, x minus 5 equals 0. And then your two answers are going to be x equals minus 5, x equals plus 5. What is the key difference between this one and this one here? Is that it's a plus in the middle, not a minus. That's how you tell the difference. Now, another student might have came along, and instead of doing the difference of two squares, he would have done it this way. He would have sent the 25 over the other side. And then what he would have done was he would have square rooted both sides. And he would have got x equals the square root of 25. He would have then got x equals 5. But he left out an answer because the answer has to be what number, when you multiply it by itself, gives you 25. Therefore, the other answer was minus 5. I'm going to suggest that we do this one here on the left hand side the same way. We square root minus 25. And what did I say the answer is for square root of minus 25? 5i. But we also forgot the minus 5i as the other answer. Okay? Yeah. So guys, on the next one, I did 8 and 11 so far. The next one here is number 10. Give you another example. X squared plus 4 equals 0. How do I know it's not the difference of two squares? It's a plus 4, not a minus 4. Bring the minus 4 over the other side. X squared equals minus 4. What do I do to both sides? Alright, what is the square root of minus 4? 2i. You also have to remember the other answer, which is minus 2i. It's easy as that. So guys, on questions 1 to 9, you're going to always use the minus b formula. On questions 10, 11 and 12, you're going to move the number over the other side and just square root it. Is that alright? So what I want you to do for our homework tonight is we'll give you 4 of these, so 2, 5, 8 and 9, and 11 and 12. That's you done.